Hello, today I'm going to show you with this tutorial how to make a text box and how to change the look of your text. So we're just going to do text in this one. I'll do another video for some of the other things. Please make sure you watch some of the basic things like how to open a spread and how to save things on the server before you get to this particular one. Alright, so the tools that you need to be familiar with are the black arrow, which is here, the direct selection tool. You'll see on your page it looks like that. We also have the white arrow. It is the selection tool. It's a direct selection tool versus, I guess, just a regular selection tool. The black one selects things inside the box. The black one selects the box itself. The white one selects what's inside the box, which will come in handy with pictures. What we're concerned about right now is the type tool, and here it is. It's the letter T, which makes it easy. If you're a shortcut person like I am, it will help you work much faster and help keep the carpal tunnel away when you click too much. If you touch the letter T on your keyboard, that will also turn on the type tool. Now, in order to make type, you have to draw something to put it in first. So when you click the T, you'll notice that your cursor changes into it looks like a cursor actually, instead of an arrow, but there's that little arrow there too. We're going to draw a box, and I'm going to make it like a headline, so I'm going to make kind of a big box so we can see it by clicking and dragging, and you don't let go of the mouse button until you have your box the way you want it. Now you may notice how tiny the cursor is there in the corner. That's because, well, for two reasons. Number one, it's defaulting to a size 8 font, which is tiny. Probably that's really the smallest we would ever want in your book. We probably never want one smaller than that. And then also, we're zoomed out to 50%. Your book is way bigger than your screen, your yearbook spread. If it were at 100%, you wouldn't be able to see the whole thing. So sometimes it's wise to zoom out and kind of look at the whole thing and then zoom back in. We're going to go ahead and go to 100%, so that way we can see kind of how it is going to look. And of course I have my grid turned on because you shouldn't do anything in design without your grid. Your grid is your Bible. It shows you where to go and what to do and whether things are lined up. Now, when you clicked on the T, you might have noticed that everything up here across the top has changed. We now have a whole set of new tools, and we also have a second menu, kind of like second breakfast, right? It's over here in the top, and it does some cool things too that, well, we're pretty much not going to talk about today. We're going to stick with this one for now. So one of the things that most people are concerned with is font. Here it is. The default for me is times T. You may find a different font that you are defaulted to in your on your computer. It just sort of depends. But when you click the down arrow, you'll notice we have a lot of different kinds of fonts. We have serif and sans serif and all kinds of things. Now, it's really sometimes hard to tell what you're looking at because these little samples are teeny tiny, and no matter how much you zoom in your spread, those samples are still teeny tiny. So I'm going to pick this one right here because it's kind of an interesting one, and I'm going to make it nice and big. You should know points, the PT, that stands for point, and points are a piece of, a measurement, and there are, I believe, 12 points in a pica. We're looking for 72 right now. 72 points equals 1 inch in measurement. So I'm going to go ahead and type, marching band. Alright, so now you can see this type keys filled. How cute is that? It looks like a typewriter, old school typewriter keys with the letters in them, which I don't know that we would have much of use for something like this, but you never know. So anyway, this is the font that I've chosen. Now let's say I don't like it. I typed it and it doesn't look the way I wanted it to. I highlight it, and then I can go here and change the font, right? So now I have this, and I don't really like that either. So I'm just going to keep arrowing down. Let's see, where am I here? I got to find where I'm at. It will show you, it should show you kind of where you are, or not, maybe not. Alright, it's not showing me. So I'm going to just go ahead and keep arrowing down until I find something I like. That's Modern number 20. I really do like that font. That's a nice font. But let's say I want something kind of, I don't know, nifty. Let's look at, hang on, I'm going to go down here. Now if you keep arrowing down, you'll notice that you just kind of get to look at all of them and see what they look like. Of course, anything that's behind your menu is going to be in the way, so we can move that over some. Going back to Acapulco, which I really don't even like at all. Alright, so I'm going to move this down to, let's see, let's pick this one, Canvas Script. Alright, because this is kind of a popular font right now, sort of a sketchy looking font. And you'll notice underneath the font name we have different kinds, different variations of that font. You can go with heavy fill, or you can do heavy. And notice the difference between heavy fill and fill, and we have regular. That's just what we had been using. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go ahead here and go with heavy, so it's nice and heavy. And then I'm going to mess around with the color of it. So, in order to do that, well, first of all, let me show you a neat trick. Alright, so a neat trick. If you type something and you realize, oops, I need it to be in all caps, you can do that by clicking this, highlighting it and clicking this button, and suddenly everything's in all caps. Or you can hit this button and make everything still in all caps, but with an actual capital letter. Where you type a capital letter, it's bigger, which is pretty nifty. I kind of like that. Alright, so I went back to my original. If you're interested in centering it on your page, this is where you center. You can left justify, you can right justify, and you can center. Now, you can also do these other things, which we'll talk about later, because it won't show up if I type that in right now. Alright, let's say we want a color. We've got black text right now. I would like to make my text a different color. And this is the color palette. We have the fill right here, and this is stroke. Stroke is the outline. Fill is what goes in the middle, right? The inside part. So I'm going to worry about the fill first, and I've decided that I'm going to use this. I'm going to go down here. You might notice we have a lot of colors. We can't use any of those in the yearbook because those all cost money. And I don't want to spend money on color when I can get color for free. So we're going to go to Balfour Tools, Balfour X Colors I mean, and then we're going to select a color. My color is going to be blue. So when I click off of it, you'll see we have a nice blue there. That's not so bad. Let's say, though, I wanted to put an outline around that. I don't know why you would with this font, but let's just pretend. I'm going to go back to my Balfour colors, and I'm going to choose a really nice, maybe red color. Let's see. This might be orange. I'm not 100% sure. Sometimes it's hard to tell. Alright, so now we have marching band, right? And we have our fill and we have our stroke. Maybe you would have an occasion to where you didn't want any fill. You would just choose none. Oops, you have to highlight it first. Sorry. I'm going to choose none. Come on. There we go. And now it's kind of cool with certain types of fonts. It ends up looking pretty nifty when you have just the outline. So that's kind of up to you and your purposes. So let's say I don't like that and I want to go back to having that. So I've got that. One other thing you can do is select your box with your black selection tool. And suddenly your tools change, right? And here we can add something called drop shadow, which drop shadow makes it look like it stands out. There's a shadow behind it, so it's like it's sticking up. And with drop shadow, you can change sort of how that looks. If you don't like the drop shadow, that's okay. You can also fade it out here. This little slider will make it kind of fade here. I'm going to turn my grid off so you can kind of see it a little better. So that can make it fade out so that it's just barely there, Or, you can make it really dark at 100%. There's a bunch of other things you can do here. You can bevel and emboss. I don't know. You might like the look of that. That's actually, that's kind of cool. There's also inner glow, which doesn't look like much on this, or outer glow, which looks like less than nothing. And here's your drop shadow again. You can also feather things so that it sort of fades out. You can make it satin, and you can do all kinds of things with gradient feathering and things like that. But let's say you like the drop shadow. You can change a lot about the drop shadow if you want to. Well, if you have it, if they'll let you select it. Here we go. Let's go here. Alright, so you can change the color of the drop shadow. Let's say you don't like black. Let's say you want it to be more gray. Now suddenly your drop shadow is a little bit lighter. Or you can make it even lighter if you want to. And you hit OK. And now it's not as dark as it was. It's still there, but it's not just, it's not so dark. You can change the opacity of it as well. So you can make it really heavy or just barely there. So there it is again. You can change the size of it, how it's spread out. You can change the direction, how far away it is from the object. You can even change with this thing right here. You can change the angle of it. Notice I'm moving the circle around, and when you look at the words marching band, you can see that the shadow is moving in a circle. So you can put it at an angle that you really like. Especially this is good if you have a lot of things close together on the page. It keeps things from being knocking into one another. We also have spread. You can spread it out and make it kind of thick. I don't really like that, but some people do. You can also change the noise and make it splotchy, like that, which you might have a reason why you want to do that. I don't know. And you can also change the size of it, make it bigger or smaller here. So the knockout and all that other stuff, we're not going to worry about that so much right now. Those are just some basic things that you can do with text. Now, one more thing. I'm almost done here. You can also type on a path. In order to type on a path, though, you have to have something to trace. You have to have an object already on your page. So I guess I better go over here and draw. I'm going to draw a circle, and I'm going to move it here. Oops, I'm not going to do that. Delete that. Alright, so real quick, I'm going to move this over here. I'm going to change it so that there's no stroke and there's no fill, but there's an object there, and I'm going to grab my type on a path. And when the plus sign shows up, that means I can trace it. So right now I'm tracing the path so that I can type on it. And now it's going to let me type on the path that I traced. And you can do this with any path you want. Anything. Along as curvy edge, anything you want. You can draw it. You can type on that path. So that's pretty neat. And you can put any text effect on it that you want. Any of the, you can drop shadow, you can do anything you want with it. And so it can be a really cool thing to use. Alright friends, so those are your basic text tools. And so join me next time with how to draw a picture box, which comes next. Thanks.